Picture this. You spend months, maybe even years, building leet code. You memorize every sorting algorithms. You master dynamic programming. You can reverse a linked list in your sleep. You finally land your dreams interviews at a FAANG company. You join the video call, heart pounding, ready to go. And the interviewer says, "Alright, I have just sent you a link to the block of AI-generated code. Find the bug, tell me why it is insufficient, and then explain how you would design a better system." And get this isn't some far-off sci-fi scenario. For many, this is the new realities of 2025. The entire foundations of the technical interviews, the system that have governed Silicon Valley for generations, is officially broken. It's were cracked wide open by the very technologies these companies are racing to build. Now, in a state of strategic panic, the giants of tech are running in completely opposite directions, creating a massive split that changes everything for candidates like you and me. Some companies are running back to the fortress of the past, while others are spinning towards the uncertain future. And what this dramatic diversion reveals is the fundamental skills you now need to master to get hired not just at FAANG, but anywhere that matter in tech. This isn't about memorizing more algorithms. It is about completely different ways of thinking. So how did we get here? How did a process that's verified over 2 decades by the smartest companies in the world suddenly become so fragile? It is all come down to one thing, the fundamentals of loss and trust. When interviews went remote, it was a logical dream for hiring managers. They could run a standardized, efficient process from anywhere. But in the late 2022, the plot twist arrived. Generative AI became accessible to everyone. At first, the code produced were chunky and often buggy, but AI got scary good terrifyingly fast. By 2024, tools like ChatGPT could solve the vast majority of standard coding interview questions. This wasn't just individual candidates looking for a leg up. We saw the rise of sophisticated cheating at the service operations. One story that circulates involves a 21-year-old engineer who, after failing his FAANG interview, built a multi-million-dollar app that used AI to listen to interview questions and feed him the perfect solutions in real time, completely invisible to the interviewer. The problem escalates beyond simple cheating into a potential national security risk. Reports began to surface of companies unknowingly hiring engineers from state-sponsored hacking groups, like those in North Korea, who have used a combination of AIs and deepfake technologies to have experts pass the entire interview process for them. The trust was gone. Companies are flying blind, unsure if the persons they are interviewing was a coding genius or just a genius at prompting an AI. This has forced every major tech companies to ask the terrifying questions. How do we know if you actually know anything? Their frantic search for answers have led to the great schisms in the industry, a philosophical war being waged over the futures of hiring. On one side of this divide, you will have the Purists, and Google philosophies is a great example. Their response to the AI crisis can be summed up as a retreat to the foundations. To combat cheating, there is a renewed push towards what they see as a cheat-proof evaluations. This means potentially more in-person interviews for final round, and a boil down focus on the whiteboard, both literally and figuratively. The message is clear. We want to see what you think, without the aid of a machine. This move may seem backward, especially when Google-owned engineers use AI to generate a significant chunk of their code. It sounds hypocritical, but their logic is actually pretty sharp. On the job, senior engineers know what needs to be built. They understand the systems, the trade-off, the business logic. They use AI to speed up the process of writing the code. In an interview, however, a candidate leaning on AI may be using it to figure out what to code in the first place. Google is paying for your thinking, not your typing speed. They believe that true engineering talent is raw, unassisted problem-solving ability. By making you solve problems on the whiteboard, they can strip away the AI helpers and see your brain at work. They are betting that foundational knowledge, proven under pressure, is the only reliable signals of a great engineer. On the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you have the Pragmatists. While the Protest building this fortress, the Pragmatists are building a starship. In July 2025, report revealed that Meta is piloting interviews where candidates are not only allowed but encouraged to use AI assistants. An internal post states their goals were to create an interview that is more representative of the developers' environments that our future engineers will work in. That philosophy is one of the radicals' pragmatism. They see the AI arms race against trading as unwinnable. So instead of trying to ban the tool, they are leaning into the futures of making the tool part of the test. They are effectively saying, we know you are going to use AI on the job, so let's see how good you are at it. This approach kills two birds with one stone. First, it makes the old school trading less effective. If everyone has access to AI assistants, the advantage is disappear. The interview is no longer about finding the answer, it is about what you do with the answer. Second, it lets them test on the new, arguably more relevant set of skills. They are moving away from abstract, LISCO-style questions and toward project-based tasks. They want to see if you can effectively prompt, guide, and collaborate with an AI partner. Meta is betting that the most valuable engineers of the future isn't the ones who has everything memorized, but the ones can be best leverage intelligent tools to build great products. So you have these two completely opposite approaches. One camp is going back to the basics, testing pure, unassisted thought. The other is jumping into the future, testing your abilities to collaborate with a machine. It feels like chaos for a candidate. How can you possibly prepare for both? And this brings up the huge questions. Which philosophies do you think is better for the industry? Are you on Team Purists with Google or Team Pragmatists with Meta? Let me know which side you are on in the comments. This next section is the most important part. It is the secrets that hidden in plain sight. Despite taking the polar opposite path, both camps are now, for the first time, looking for the exact same foundation skills. From my times on hiring committees, I can tell you these were the invisible filters that always separate the good candidate from the weak one. For years, the dirty secrets of tech interviews were that they were largely a test of memorizations and pattern recognitions. Grading LeetCode work because you could train your brain to recognize problems and then spit out solutions. That entire paradigm is now on life support. AI Motorolese warned. Whether you are at Google's whiteboard or using a Meta AI assistant, you can no longer succeed by just knowing the answer. The once unified skills that both sides are desperately trying to select for is critical code comprehension and reasoning. Let's break this down. It is not just about writing code from scratch anymore. It is about your abilities to read, analyze, debug, and clearly explain the trade-off of code, whether it came from your head, a teammate, or an AI. Think of it from the protest perspective. You are at the whiteboard. You cannot just write out perfect solutions for a merge sort. The interviewers will stop you. They will ask, why this approach? What is the memory's implications? What if the data is modally sorted? What other algorithms did you consider, and why you discuss them? They are testing your reasoning. They want to see you think through the problems, not just recall memorized solutions. The code is just a prop for the real interview, the conversations happening around it. Now, let's think about it from the pragmatic perspective. You have the AI assistant. You ask us to generate a script. You spit out 15 lines of code. Your job isn't done, it's just beginning. The interviewers will ask, is this code correct? Is it secure? What case did the AI miss? This code works, but it's slow. Where is the bottleneck, and how would you refactor it? They are testing your abilities to critically evaluate a solution, not just generate one. The AI is our host of code, and they want to know if you are the expert who can aim it correctly and clean up the mess. The emphasis has shifted from being code generators to being code reviewers and system thinker. Companies are realizing that in the world where everyone can generate code, the real value lies in judgments, tests, and a deep understanding of how systems work. They are hiring for your thinking, not just for your typing. The game is no longer about finding the single right answers you memorized. It is about navigating complex problems and clearly articulating your decisions. That is the one skill that unites both interviews philosophy. So, what does this mean for your preps? Does it mean you can toss your lead code prep out of the window? Not quite. Algorithms thinking is still the foundation skills, but it does mean that building problems in isolation is a fast track to failure now. You need to evolve your strategies. Here are the 5 practical things to start doing right now. First, nail your behavior storytelling. This is the number 1 reason why great engineers get rejected right now. With technical skills being easy to fake, companies are leaning heavily on behavior interviews to verify you actually did the work on your resume. They will dig into every project, asking pointed questions like, walk me through the exact technical trade-off you made on that project. Who disagreed with your approach, and how did you convince them? You must prepare detailed stories for every major accomplishment. The best way to do this is using the STAR method. Describe the situations, the tasks you were given, the specific action you took, and the measurable result. If you cannot defend your experience with detailed, compelling story, you will not get hired. Second, master the art of thinking out loud. This is non-negotiable for every interview style. The next time you solve a problem, saying your entire thought process, start from restating the problems in your own words, describing constraints and edge case. Brainstorm multiple approaches out loud, even the bad ones as well. Explains why you are choosing one path over another. Talking through the times and place complexities as you go. Your goal is to make the interviewers collaborators in your problem-solving journey. Third, become a professional code reviewer. Getting incredibly good at critics code that you didn't write. The best way to do this is to use AI as a partner. Go to ChatGPT, give it a standard interview problems, and ask for solutions. Then your job is to tear the solution apart. Don't just check it if it's work. Ask the harder questions. Is it readable? Maintainable? Are the variable names clear? Is there more elegant ways to do this? What if the inputs were 100 times larger? Write out your feedbacks like a formal code reviews comments. This is the exact skills some companies are testing for when they give candidates AI-generated code and ask them to find the fault. 4. Shift the problem solving to debugging. Instead of only doing problems from scratch, actively seeking out broken code. Go to open source projects on GitHub and look for bugs report. Try to find the issue and fix it. Ask an AI to write code with a deliberate subtle bug and see if you can find it. Interviewers increasingly value debugging because it demonstrates a deep, practical understanding of how code actually works. So you can reason backward from an error to a root cause, a much higher level skills than just reasoning forward to a solutions. 5. Evaluate your system design thinking. System design interviews always been important, but now they are critical, even for more junior roles. AI cannot give you the right answers for system design questions, because it is not just about a single block of code. It's about a series of trade-off discussions. Practice this constantly. Grab a friend or use a mock interviews platform, working through designing common systems, a URL shorteners, a social media feed, a ride-sharing app. Focus on why. Why a non-SQL database over a SQL one here? What is the trade-off between consistency and availability? How would you scale this to million users? This is where human judgments shine, and this is what companies are paying a premium for. The world of tech interviewing is in the state of chaotic upheaval. The rise of AI has shattered the old rule, forcing a permanent shift in how companies find talent. Value is no longer in memorizing solutions, but in your ability to reason, critique, debug, and communicate. The ultimate skills for 2025 is deep human judgment. But this disruption doesn't stop at the interview room door. The same AI that's changing how we get hired is also set to automate entire categories of tech job, making some jobs obsolete when creating the entire new one. To stay ahead, you need to know what jobs to interview for in the first place. That is why the next video you should watch is here. It is called The 4 Tech Jobs AI Replaced by 2026. Click on the links on the screens to make sure you prepare for the futures that actually exist. Thank you for watching, and I will see you over here.